The Third Circuit Court of Appeal has affirmed the conviction and sentence for Kayla Giles. Giles was sentenced to life plus 30 years in prison in April of 2022 for the September 8th, 2018 deadly shooting of her estranged husband, Thomas Kuti Jr., in the parking lot of the Walmart on 28 West in Alexandria. That shooting happened during a custody exchange ahead of a birthday party. Giles claimed it was out of self-defense. Alexandria police arrested Giles for the shooting, and the Attorney General's office prosecuted the case on second-degree murder and obstruction of justice charges. A Rapides Parish jury found her guilty on both counts on January 29, 2022. Giles appealed her conviction and sentence based on several claims, including that the trial court didn't strike two potential jurors for cause, that her trial attorney, George Higgins, was ineffective when he did not move for a change of venue and failed to consult an experts in intimate partner violence. Giles also claimed the court failed to grant a hearing on a motion for a new trial and said the evidence used to convict her was insufficient, among other claims. Ultimately, a panel of judges disagreed, and the conviction and sentence were affirmed.
Remember when USCCA was being held to account for the Kayla Giles case? Well, it seems like she's been given a lifeline. Welcome to another installment of the Connecticut Gun Bench. Today's video is brought to you by P.A.N. Firearms, LLC. P.A.N. Firearms, your NRA certification of multifaceted gun training. You can reach us at 203-300-6343 or use our website at www.panfirearmsllc.com. As always, the big link in the description box below. If you like channel, like content, what I do, you can support me with the link. Everything's appreciated. Online store is open. CGB 20 will get you 20% off, free shipping. Connecticut residents, you got to pay sales tax. I have no say, but CGB 20 will get you 20% off. Well, let's talk about this. And this is something that I spoke about before, Matt, out of Louisiana. This is concerning a person by the name of Kayla Giles, who shot and killed her estranged husband while doing a custody swap at a Walmart parking lot. There was a lot of controversy about this because she had USCCA insurance and she made a claim, and USCCA honored it at first with a bulk sum of $50,000 to get her started. Then when the information from the actual evidence in the shooting came to light, USCCA said, nah, we don't see this as self-defense and we're going to cut you off. She then sued USCCA and another insurance company who basically was the intermediary for USCCA, and a judge threw out the lawsuit. She went to trial. After the trial, she was found guilty of second-degree murder, and she was going to be sentenced, and I believe she was sentenced to 30 years. Now what has happened is a superior court decided that the judge did not properly instruct the jury on stand your ground laws in Louisiana, claiming that because she was in her vehicle and her estranged husband, Kuti, opened the door, they're saying that, well, she was within her rights to defend herself. I don't know about that, but that's what the court is saying. Let's come into here. Major stand your ground conviction overturned in self-defense win. In a high-profile decision, the Louisiana Supreme Court has reversed and vacated the second-degree murder conviction of Kayla Giles, originally sentenced in 2022 for shooting her estranged husband, Thomas Kuti Jr., during a custody exchange in a Walmart parking lot. As first reported by Melissa Gregory of the Alexandria Town Talk via Yahoo News, the court found that the jury in the original trial received flawed instructions regarding Louisiana's stand your ground law, an error significant enough to throw out the conviction. Doesn't mean she's off the hook, because technically, I believe the prosecution can still bring the case back. I'm not a lawyer, but that's my feeling. The 2018 shooting has shocked the state and caught national attention. Giles, who claimed self-defense from the beginning, argued she was sitting inside her vehicle when Kuti opened the door and approached her. Surveillance footage from the nearby Sonic drive-in appeared to support that claim. Now, this is where it gets tricky. From the start, Giles insisted she was protecting herself. However, the jury found her guilty of second-degree murder and obstruction of justice. According to Gregory's report, the obstruction charge stemmed from an alleged effort by Giles to conceal aspects of the shooting, and she received a 30-year sentence. Now, she had a laptop that she tried to hide by giving to an associate of hers for safekeeping.
She began researching online for justifiable killings in Louisiana.
They checked like her Google history or whatever, and she's doing search history for...
They did, but in order to do that, they had to get a hold of her computer. And unfortunately, that was one of the things that she was convicted of, was obstruction of justice, because she tried to hide her computer that had all of this information on it.
The associate kind of caught on what was happening, didn't feel comfortable with it, and basically turned it in. When they went through it, they found that she had been doing research on USCCA insurance and other law aspects when it came to self-defense with use of a firearm. Another thing that they're not talking about here is that she bought the pistol and the insurance within 2 weeks of the event.
As we move forward into late 2018, late August, Kayla buys a gun. Well, there's one problem with that. She went to Texas to buy the gun because she had a CCW in Texas. And so she didn't have to background herself when she bought the gun because she had a CCW in Texas.
So did she have dual residency at some point? Did she move, or did she
don't
get
know.
an out-of-state
I don't know. That wasn't in the opinion. It just said that she was able to buy a gun in Texas because she had a Texas CCW. That is in the opinion.
I'm assuming you can get a Texas CCW without being a Texas resident.
But here's the problem. She was under a domestic violence restraining order in Louisiana. She wasn't allowed to own a gun.
Yeah.
And so she bought a .380. And she told people, and a friend testified at trial, that she was afraid of her husband, that her husband had bought guns to the child custody exchanges before, and that she was in fear for her life from him. But that person also said she had never seen any violence on behalf of her husband, the soon-to-be deceased. So now we move into early September, and Kayla starts doing some searches. She also, the same day she bought the gun, she got USCCA CCW insurance. Same day she got the gun, or within a very short period of time after that.
Once again, I'm not passing judgment. I'm just saying it looks odd to me. But the prosecution had been handled by the Louisiana State Attorney General's office after the Rapides Parish District Attorney recused itself. Throughout the trial, the state emphasized what it considered substantial circumstantial evidence that Giles had planned the encounter. This included her web searches on self-defense laws, concealed carry insurance, and gun-related protections, along with a recent firearm purchase. And she purchased the gun in Dallas, Texas. As I said, she purchased this gun 12 days before this event. At the heart of the Louisiana Supreme Court's ruling is a serious concern with how the trial court instructed the jury on self-defense. As Melissa Gregory explained, the majority of justices found the instructions wrongly applied, that Giles was the aggressor, even though no evidence supported that conclusion. The court emphasized, as I was pointing out, that Giles was inside her own car when Kuti opened her door. Critical, understand your ground laws. These laws allow individuals to use force, including deadly force, if they are in a place they have a legal right to be and face a perceived threat. Now, this could have been something she looked up. Remember, she was researching all this self-defense laws prior to this event. Once again, I'm not saying she did. I'm just saying. The jury instruction, the court said, reintroduced a duty to withdraw and directly conflict with the state's legal presumption of justifiable force. In a powerful quote cited in Guns and Gadgets, he's got a really good channel. You should go check him out. Coverage by gun rights host Jared Yanis, the court explained, to presuppose that the defendant sitting in her own car was the aggressor undermines the legal presumption. In simpler terms, Louisiana law does not require someone to flee when they are legally in their own vehicle and facing a threat. And once again, she was researching this stuff at least 2 weeks prior to this encounter. I'm not saying that she was deliberately setting this up, but it looks odd. It all looks odd as you start to bring all the pieces together. And at the same time, she was looking at as also traveling out of state with the child to move to another state. This is something that their common born child between her and Kuti, she wanted to move with that child to another state. This was also something else that came up. Not everyone in the court agreed. Chief Justice John Weimer and Associate Justice John Michael Guidry both dissented. According to Gregory, Weimer argued that the jury was given fair instructions and had the right to weigh the circumstantial evidence, including Giles' preparations before the incident. Guidry went further, suggesting the court jury concluded Giles had orchestrated the shooting and that the stand your ground defense didn't apply. That was pretty much mainstay of USCCA's argument that this seems it was set up. That's the big thing. He emphasized that Giles had her gun at the ready and had searched for self-defense laws online. To the dissenters, that looks less like fear and more like forethought. Of course, people are saying this is a huge win for self-defense. I don't know. I looking at everything, it's a bit of a blight as far as I'm concerned. While the murder conviction has been overturned, the obstruction of justice charge still remains, hiding the laptop. The Supreme Court returned that portion of the case to the lower appellate courts for review. According to Melissa Gregory, Giles' legal team has also argued that her 30-year sentence for obstruction is excessive, especially now that the underlying murder charge has been thrown out. Yeah, 30 years for obstruction, no, that's not cool. But she did hide the laptop. Why? Why? If this was self-defense, why? Why are you hiding it? What for? Come on. But, as I said, he points out here, a retrial on the murder charge may also still be on the table, but the path forward is uncertain. Will the prosecution waste the money and time to do it again? Don't know. Let me go ahead and come out of that. Now, a win for self-defense? I'm on the fence about that. I don't know the details. Obviously, there are only three people who are going to know. Kuti, who's dead, Giles, who pulled the trigger, and God. But God's law is perfect because God sees everything. Man's law is flawed because it's based on evidence and witnesses. And either one can be manipulated, as we've seen time and time and time again. Now, we're going to see how this plays out going forward. As I said, I'm right on the fence with this because there's enough evidence to go one way or the other. But she has been given a reprieve. She's still going to face the obstruction charge and the conviction for it. We'll see if they reduce her 30-year sentence. But it's continuing saga in this story, and I'm sure the Kuti family are not happy about this. Why would they be? But let me know what you think. As always, you can leave your comments in the comment section below. And as always, any statements of violence or statements that lead to violence will be removed. Please like, share, comment, subscribe. Don't forget to hit that notification bell so you're notified the next time a video goes live. I'm going to see you on the next one. Peace.